Hello, everybody. This is Teen Title Talk with Erin
and Courtney.
This is the podcast
where two librarians discuss two YA books every 2 weeks.
Today we'll be talking about the books Gut Chick by Eric Kester
and Mike by Andrew Norriss.
But before we do that, we do have to dip into the Jar of Teen Angst. Mm-hmm. Our first question today, it's a sporty one because we have sporty books. Describe your relationship to sports as a teen?
Okay, so we have established that I was a cheerleader.
Yes, which I think is a sport, though you were kind of like...
It is a sport.
Okay.
It's 100% a sport. It's more of a sport now than it was when I was doing it. But
gotcha.
Yeah. So when I was like a kid,
mm-hmm.
I did 2 years of soccer when I was in like second grade or something.
Gotcha.
Very afraid of the ball. And then when I was in third grade, I did softball. Same story, except at least in softball, you can just like do some twirls and cartwheels out.
Yeah, where were you in softball? What?
Outfield.
Yeah, outfield somewhere. They just go out, get farther back.
I mean, we all had to like do a little bit of everything because it was just learning how to play softball. And I just really did not like any of it.
I am with you. But then you found cheerleading.
Then I found cheerleading and I loved it. I was doing dancing. I did dance. I don't know. Is that a sport?
Yeah. Oh, I think of it as a sport. I mean, I interned at Boston Ballet.
Oh,
biggest athletes I've ever seen. I don't think you can say it's not a sport.
I was definitely not.
I mean, it's an art too, but incredible athletes.
It is amazing. You're right. So I started when I was like 3 or 4 doing ballet, and I did that until 6th grade.
Wow, Courtney. Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
And then like puberty happened and I got very self-conscious about my body and I was like,
but you did cheerleading.
No.
But
so
cheerleading
what? Instead.
Okay.
So like it was like an overlap. I started cheerleading around 4th grade.
Got it.
And then I just kept cheering. And I remember my dance instructor was like, I think you're making a big mistake. About
cheerleading?
Yes.
Do you regret cheerleading?
Not at all.
All right, good for you.
Time. I loved it. But yeah, that was it. And so as a result, I went to lots of basketball games.
Okay, gotcha.
Lots of football
So you
games.
saw a lot of those games.
Yes.
Interesting.
I just mostly didn't pay attention to them.
Well, yeah.
And was on the sidelines like doing my thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I did. I did play soccer in middle school. I was fullback. And they kept being like, you're such the boot. I think fullback isn't fullback
I don't know.
Right before the goal. I don't know. Well, I was the person who booted it when it was getting too close to the goal.
Oh.
But not the goalie.
You booted it when it was, okay.
I was there. There were two positions.
Yep, front. Yes.
I know, in the back.
Wow.
That was me. And then I played softball for a minute, right field, but then I just was cheering for them because I didn't actually play later in high school. And I tried to play field hockey, which was horrible.
I love the idea of field hockey. We did not have field hockey.
You had to lean over while you're hitting the ball. Why would you run like that? Would you actually naturally run like that?
No,
it was ridiculous.
Not. But is it any different than hockey?
No, I don't know. I played street hockey in gym class, and I liked that. I think you could stand up more because of where you have to position your hands on that stick. But either way, I then found the theater and never, ever went to another sports thing except to watch.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice.
Yes.
So we're not the most sporty.
I wished I was a little bit sportier. I think when I was in school, I wished that. Like, I thought about doing volleyball. I was very easily intimidated.
Interesting. Was there any pressure, though, to do a sport?
Well, I was already kind of doing one.
I
got a varsity letter for my...
Good for you, Court. Did you put it in your jacket?
I didn't have a jacket. Oh. I could have bought one, but they were expensive. And I was like, so it's just like in a scrapbook somewhere.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
That was in Vermont, so there was obviously like a ski culture.
Yeah.
Hated skiing. Hate skiing.
I've never been.
What? Not even to try? Oh, it was like forced upon us in every year of school. And I was just like, I don't want to be here. I'm cold. And when you fall on skis and your legs are all like mangled and flying on a windmill type shape, it's the worst. So no.
I do imagine it like a cartoon, like a giant little like snowball just getting bigger and
bigger. That's me on skis, yes. I like snowboarding better, but still not a fan.
So I have tried snowboarding.
See,
We
there
went
you
to
go.
Pat's Peak when I was in like high school, and my dad is like skiing, so he was like trying to make me like skiing.
Got it.
And I was like, no, skiing's lame. I want to do snowboarding.
Skiing's lame.
So I got on my little snowboard because I liked what all the outfits looked like.
Okay.
And
got it.
It was there's a video. There's a video, and it's a horrible video of me like I couldn't even figure out how to get up like the tow rope thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like flailing around trying to have that pull me up the bunny slope.
I understand.
And then I was up there and I could not stand up for more than like 30 seconds.
Did everybody leave you or
I was crying. I was 16 years old. I'm on that stupid bunny slope. All these little kids are like, pew, pew.
Little rockets around you.
And I was like, And there's a video of my dad. Is he taking the video? Someone's taking a video. Anyway, they're in like the lodge.
Wow, didn't even want to go outside.
I'm off in the distance, army crawling down the bunny slope with my feet in the air.
I love it. You know what?
Crying.
You know what, Courtney? You got down off that mountain. That's what matters.
So anyway, never returned after that.
That's fine. You don't have to go out there. No, don't let anybody convince you that you have to go out there.
Okay.
All right, so there's a horrifying naked fight scene in the locker room in my book.
Oh, God.
So I wanted to ask, because it's a ball of anxiety for most teens, how did you handle the locker room situation in school? Did you master the Houdini-like move to get your clothes changed without an inch of skin showing? Did you block out the locker room entirely? Because I can't remember it now.
Well, it's interesting because our locker room, I think locker rooms have changed. So, we had an old regular locker room. It had showers.
Ours had showers, too, but who used them?
Nobody. We did not shower.
No.
But I think, if I had gone to school, 20 years earlier, showers are mandatory.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they made you shower after gym.
Because just the stench is too
nasty.
awful. Okay.
Yeah, but, I think as I feel like we got a little bit... I don't know how to say this because I feel like we got more and less conservative at the same time.
Got it, yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But, there are some things I feel like our culture got more conservative about. And I think that's one of them. So, the showers, the water was not even turned on. So, you could use a shower stall to change if you wanted to.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But it wouldn't actually run.
No, right. There was no water in
nice.
it. Yeah. But most people didn't do that because if you did that, then you were a weirdo who was ashamed.
Okay, gotcha.
So then, but no one got naked in the shower room either. And I don't know if that's just a boys versus girls locker room situation or if it's a now.
We'll never know.
The past.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, so it would be this thing where you would put on your giant gym shirt.
Yes.
Over your clothes. And then you would take the clothes off underneath that t-shirt.
Wow.
And pull it out the sleeve.
I know what move you're talking about there. It's amazing.
Especially did this to change in and out of a sports bra.
Got it, yes.
However, I on gym days would just wear a sports bra to school.
That's a thing. Make it easy.
Make it easy.
And then,
I didn't want anyone to see me naked.
No, especially just people you kind of are friends with, but you don't know.
Whoosh,
whoa.
Just whatever.
Whatever.
Take off the clothes, take off the bra, put the bra on. They would be turned toward the lockers, but there were people who were a lot more comfortable, I would say, with their nakedness.
Got it.
Than I was.
Got it. I just remember making a door out of my locker door, swinging it open.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And kind of using that. And I mostly blocked it out. I remember the one thing I specifically remember in the locker room was having a conversation with Heather Brown about how she was going to inherit her grandmother's, chest of china.
What?
That's the whole
That's the memory that sticks with
That's what stuck with me. So I was just I guess I have no real trauma except that I bottled it. Maybe I bottled something up there, but...
Yeah, I don't remember any specific traumatic moments.
No, and we definitely didn't use the shower.
Feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, we did not use the shower. Not even, no one would have ever been yeah, I'm going to go do that.
I know, imagine if someone was I'm going to take a shower now. Everyone would have been what?
What? Why? Why not just wait till you get home?
You don't even have time. You have 30 seconds
not even
before you need to go to the next class.
Exactly.
When is there time to take a shower?
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad we didn't. Because that would have been worse.
I reeked.
Yeah, well, me too. Who cares? I mean, everybody reeked a little bit. Just put the stuff on. Yeah, stench of high school. All right, we're going to move on to books because that's the kind of time.
I know. We had so much to talk about.
We did. So, but before we do that, I want to remind listeners, we'd love to hear from you. So tell us a fun story about after school sports. Did you love it? Did you loathe it? Were you a skier? What was your favorite thing to do? If you have a awesome story about sports, please tell us. You can also tell us about your horrifying locker room situations. Email us at teentitletalk@gmail.com and we'll read a few of our listener responses next time. We'd love to hear from you.
Please.
So let's move on to books. Courtney, what did you read this time around? Tell us a little bit about it.
All right. I read Mike by Andrew Norriss. It's about a kid named Floyd, actually.
Not Mike.
Not
okay,
Mike.
I didn't see that coming.
I know. Who is really, really crazy good at tennis. Like, so good that everyone expects him to win Wimbledon.
Wow.
I know. Okay. He's, like, very gifted. One day, at an important match, he sees this person, Mike, in an audience, moving his way down to the court. And then he starts, like, kind of messing with stuff by the court.
Okay.
And after that, Floyd realizes that his new mission in life is to figure out why Mike has appeared and to follow Mike despite the difficulties presented in doing so.
Okay.
So it's about Floyd's discovery of what he wants out of life, who he wants to be with, and yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, Gut Check by... Where's my gut check? Eric Kester, is about a kid named Wyatt, who's this kind of big oafish kid whose brother's a football star. The town they live in, Greyport, basically lives and breathes football and fishing, and Wyatt has dreams of playing. At the beginning of the book, he's actually the mascot, Poncho Pete, at the Poncho Hut. Yeah. But then he does get a chance to play pretty quickly at like a really low level. So one day during practice, he gets hit by a bird, and it just plummets out of the sky. This caught me by surprise. And they find out that it's this thing, the bird had this thing from the red tide, which is basically this invasive...
Oh, like an algae?
Yeah, that kills creatures, fish and birds, anything in the ocean. They thrive on fishing, so that's a problem. Last time red tide came around, it basically crushed the economy.
It's supposed to be a town like New Bedford.
Kind of, yeah, and it is it's supposed to be this Boston suburb.
Gotcha.
So it's told in this sort of interesting self-deprecating / self-loathing voice from Wyatt's point of view. And the whole time I just wanted to be like, it's gonna be okay, man. You're wonderful. You're great. Stand up for yourself. But I couldn't, obviously. So I just had to watch him suffer through a lot. But let's talk about Mike first, and then we'll get into Wyatt.
Sounds good.
So it's no secret that we picked our books today based on the fact that we probably would never pick them up on the norm. We looked for books that we were like, we probably wouldn't read this. And then we picked them up. What were your expectations based on the cover? And were you surprised by anything?
I definitely did not expect the book that I got from the cover. Which
is good, maybe.
It's true, but now I'm like wondering why I didn't expect this book, because it's kind of a weird cover and it was kind of a weird book, so maybe it goes. Like I said last week, it's kind of like a little bit of a Napoleon Dynamite-ish looking book, so... I don't know why I expected a rollicking hardcore tennis tale, but I did. So I don't know. I was surprised, though, by how simple or straightforward the writing style was. It was like an easily digested psychology book.
Interesting. All right. So I want to hear more about this. What was your favorite character and why? We know a little bit about Floyd.
Yeah, Floyd's the tennis star. I think my favorite character is Floyd's dad.
Okay.
His dad builds tennis courts as his job, and that's how Floyd started in tennis.
Okay.
So, it's how the whole family has always spent time together. Like, the mom also works in the court building business. So, like, as a family, they're always either practicing together, playing together, they're talking tennis, they know all the stars, whatever. But his dad makes sure to say that if it isn't fun anymore, then you don't have to play it anymore.
That's nice. So that's a supportive adult.
And I know. Like and I think to the dad's credit, he really does try to make it true. Like, there is one point where the dad is really disappointed because Floyd decides to take his life in another direction.
Okay.
And it takes him a little while to come around, but he does come around. And I think in a very human way.
And that feels realistic,
yes,
I think.
I think so.
Okay. Interesting. Tell me about the tensest moment and what made it so tense.
So the tensest moment really was when Floyd realizes that he's got to tell his dad that he no longer wants to play tennis.
Okay.
This is after seeing Mike a few times, and Mike's basically sabotaging his games.
Okay.
Because Mike is Floyd's inner self.
Okay, gotcha. So
And
Mike is actually not...
He's not real, but he is, he's like real but not real. They established this in like the second chapter.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, do you know right away?
You know right away.
Okay.
Because Mike doesn't even really talk very much. He's just kind of like a presence.
Interesting.
Who gives like a good glance or a bad glance, and then Floyd's like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But Mike is very adamant about not playing tennis anymore.
Okay.
And I think that's really hard. I think that's really hard for a kid especially, because when you're doing something, any hobby really intensely, you know that your family has given up something for you to do that thing. Mm-hmm. You know, like if you're playing travel soccer.
Sure.
Your family is with you like all weekend traveling to these soccer games. If you're doing like hockey, your dad's waking up at 4 a.m. to take you to ice time. Mm-hmm. So there are things that your family gives up in order for you to pursue these things, but sometimes it's your family pushing you to do
exactly. Or it's just a point of pride, and so you don't want to fracture that necessarily.
Exactly, and it's hard. And if that's all your like whole family life revolves around, it's like, well, what do we do when we don't do that thing anymore?
Interesting.
So it's really hard for a teen, I think, to make that choice.
He had this conversation with his dad, and that was his
dad is mad. His dad does get really upset.
Okay, got it.
He's like, but what about that time you told me that if it wasn't fun anymore, I didn't have to do it? And he was like, well, that's not, you weren't like the number one player in England at that time.
Well, you know.
So what's happening? He was like the number one in under 18. Wow. He was going to beat everybody. He's so good. And he's like, I don't want to do it. And I don't know. I think that's scary for anyone to change course.
I like though in the sporty book that the tensest moment is the emotional moment. That's really interesting because that was the same with mine.
That's true.
So Kirkus says this has a sort of enigmatic parable vibe.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
I think that that's a perfect description.
Because I was just like, what? What is this?
I know. Until I was almost done, I kept being like, this book is weird. This book is weird. Oh my God, this book is so weird. And it does have a very lesson-y feeling. Uh-huh. Like, that's what a parable is.
Right.
It's a lesson told through a story. And so I think Kirkus is right on. The story does not feel totally fleshed out. The characters are sometimes kind of flat. But the point...
It's an everyman story.
The character, you know, and that's very obvious. The point is the lesson to teach that we all have this inner voice. Sometimes it appears at inopportune times, but we have to listen to that voice and really follow what it's saying. And in this book, you are very richly rewarded for doing that.
I do not want to follow the voices that are in my psyche.
Well,
but I'm
Floyd
glad
does.
that
He totally quits tennis. He decides to become a marine biologist.
Great.
He goes on a ship.
They're saying less weird things than mine.
They find a treasure.
What?
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you will be literally and figuratively rewarded for following your mind.
What? Okay, gotcha. Yes. So would you not get down any points for being didactic? I'm just curious. Like, did it feel too lessony, or did it feel like age appropriate and kind of like comforting?
I don't know. I think I gave it a 3 on Goodreads.
All right. You're a tougher rater than me. I'm always like, I liked it. 5 stars.
I think it's a good lesson.
Right.
And I do think it's one that it's good to bear in mind. And it's good to know that, like, you can decide to do something totally different and your life won't be over. It might be even better. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, it really wasn't much of a story.
Interesting. I wonder if that author's a teacher. I'm just curious.
He's written other books.
Oh, has he? Okay, but did it say in his bio if he's a teacher too? I just wonder because that kind of feels like a teacher brand thing. Like, I'm going to guide you.
He started his writing career in television.
Oh, totally not a teacher.
And wrote several successful British series, including some adaptations of his own books. And honestly, I can see it being an okay TV show.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting.
You know, just kind of weird and quirky, and you're following this little inner self. But as a book, it was fine. But, you know.
All right.
It's fine.
And you're glad you picked it up?
I am.
All right.
So there you go.
That's great. All right. I'm glad.
Yes, but I want to find out more about gut check, which sounds
Let's talk about it.
a lot more intense.
It was intense.
Okay, so I read a little bit about it. It definitely sounds like more of a typical coming of age story, especially through the lens of sports, which, you know, sports movies sometimes follow away.
Totally.
Which I love. I love sports movies, but I never read sports books. So
Got it.
It's interesting. I'm curious to know, is Wyatt the underdog? Because there's like always an underdog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's the underdog. He's such an underdog, actually. So much so that the plot tension stems from the fact that he basically is paralyzed in a lot of ways in life. So he is always compared to his brother, Brett, who's like this football star. So not only is Wyatt huge, he's huge. And he was being the mascot at the football game instead of the star. And then his brother's the star. So he's always being compared to the star. And there's so many moments in his life, especially early on in the book, where he is completely frozen and can't defend himself and can't think good things about himself. And it's really, really tough. There were so many moments where I was just like worried about him. So there wasn't actually this, in a lot of sports movies, there's kind of an arc where he becomes like the star.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Okay.
Which I was glad about.
Good.
But he does become more confident. His relationships grow.
So he grows a lot.
Yeah.
That's
and I really
nice.
like that about it.
That's good.
The main story is about family, really. I mean, so that's where we see his growth with his relationship with his brother, which is great.
Gotcha. That sounds nice, though. Was there a character that you identified with?
Not really. No, not really. I felt sorry for Wyatt. I think he was born with not much of a backbone, or it was just shattered. I was just kind of like, buddy, get behind me. I got this. I would be in there helping. But I didn't really identify with him. I felt sorry for him.
You never felt overshadowed by any of your sisters?
I mean, yeah, Amber, obviously, but it just didn't compute as being the same. I thought I might identify with Haley because she was kind of interesting at the beginning, but then she just giggled a lot. We don't see her a lot. We know I'm more of a cackler, not a giggler. Well, so
definitely not a Haley.
Not a Haley. Brett, obviously football prodigy, definitely did not identify with him. No. I liked Nate, who was a nerd, loved him, and he was like the best friend nerd guy. But I think it just goes to show you don't have to identify with the characters to really like the story.
Well, that's true.
I really enjoyed it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Did you feel like it was honest to the high school experience?
Okay, so maybe to a high school experience. My high school experience was weird, and we didn't even have football. We had ice hockey, and it was a small town, and like 5 towns had to group together in one school in order to make a high school. And yeah, it was not quite the same.
Thing.
However,
like social stuff.
It was realistic. The dialogue was realistic. I thought so many interesting details, and it's from Wyatt's perspective, which felt very authentic to me, which I liked. And there was so much detail that it felt very real. The one part where I was like, I don't know, was when they were in science class and they had to make a distraction, and they created... that wasn't their assignment, but basically what happened was Wyatt was like scrolling through Haley's pictures on Facebook, and he accidentally hit like on like a bikini picture. And so he was like, oh no, she's going to think I'm a creep because that's from 3 years ago. And I'm just, So Nate had the plan to make a distraction so he could take the phone and hit the notification off. So they make this like 6-foot methane bubble bomb thing. So they're like toting the methane for the back, and I'm like, why isn't the teacher noticing this? This is ridiculous. Like, once the kids start crowding around, she would have been alerted, even if she was very lackadaisical. But I still found it fun. Oh my gosh, yeah, no, I think I thought it was fun. So there are these moments where I'm like, yeah, I can suspend my disbelief for that just because it's interesting, and you're rooting for them.
It's true. And yeah.
So that was the only place where I was like, is this high school? Well, the naked fight in the shower was also like, I would never ever be in the shower. But maybe football players do that all the time.
Oh.
It was horrifying. I was terrified. I was just like, come on, buddy, defend yourself. Or Brett, defend him. Somebody defend him.
And they just
he just gets knocked down. But I mean, Brett eventually stepped in. Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal.
My God, my heart.
I know. That was the tensest moment in my book.
gosh.
I was just like, get out of there, run, do something. It was awful. They just get paralyzed, both brothers.
Mm-hmm.
It was
both
rough.
brothers? Even the
Brett
star?
was there and he just wasn't doing anything, so I want to slap him in the head too.
All right. Well,
I've been slapping everybody in the face.
Oh.
Just, you know, well.
Jerk, brother. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever.
Let's talk about body image then, because we're talking about naked
shower
fights,
fight,
but also
horribleness.
like Wyatt is like this bigger dude, which I think actually would be an asset in football. But
No,
maybe
he's
not.
huge. He's huge. He can he just can't run as fast as the other
gotcha.
guys.
So he's like fat.
Well, yeah.
And I don't say that in a mean way.
No.
That's how I would describe
Maybe I should have said that. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm just using it as a regular descriptor, as some people do.
Right.
Anyway, so talking about body image, we think about the pressure to look a certain way a lot for women and girls. And I don't think we talk about it as much with men and boys.
True. I would agree.
But I know that there are all kinds of body pressures for them too, especially when it comes to sports. Like, I remember being in high school and like knowing kids on the wrestling team who had to make a certain weight, and so they would like
Right.
eating a ton, or they would be like not eating for like 2 days.
Right, exactly.
You know, stuff like that. Not to mention just like the image of like Tom Brady as this like perfect
Ideal.
Adonis.
Just gonna try to get to that level of fitness.
So how is that handled?
It's handled in a lot of different ways. So, I mean, obviously, you know, Wyatt is huge. He's such a giant. People make fun of him all the time. Like the other football players make fun of him. And so he has this like inner voice that is the same as those. That he's like he's eating fudge because he's stressed out, and he just is like at the same time as eating it, like beating himself up mentally. And it's tough because he's also compared to Brett, and Brett is like, you know, the Tom Brady of the group, who's just out there. But I was worried too that Brett was going to fall into sort of a stereotype of being this kind of like flaky jock guy who is just all body, no brains, but he's actually really was much deeper than that. So good. I thought the characters were good, because Brett also had he has a tool to measure his fat, which he does in the morning. You ever heard of that? It was a caliper or something. And then he also is so cavalier with his health because he gets this concussion and he basically tries to hide it so that they can play. Because once this red tide comes in, they have this chance to win a scholarship. And so that if they play this final game, they will basically free themselves, right? But so he's like, I'm going to play. And Wyatt's like, you can't do it. And Brett's like, I have to. So both of these, and both of the focus but ultimately they don't play. So what was nice about it, there was no like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds training montage. None of that. I was so pleased that there was no training montage. Basically, both characters, the evolution is more about their relationship and what they find is important and they come to accept themselves in a healthier way at the end.
I love
which
that.
I did too. I was like, oh, thank God. We're just dodging the stereotypes all over the place.
Like yourself.
Yes. There was this great scene at the end where they're just like making cupcakes, and and Haley's like, I love a cupcake with tons of frosting. That's not enough frosting. Put on that cupcake, Wyatt. And she puts more frosting on the cupcake. And it was just really cute that like she obviously finds him appealing just as he is, you know, and it was just nice. I know. It was so warm.
I like that because it's also true to life. Like,
of course.
People of all shapes and sizes and whatever, like, make their way in the world, find love, have friends.
Yes.
It's all good.
And, you know, people are not as shallow. People, like, are always looking for this, like, glorious Tom Brady character. I would much prefer someone with a personality.
It's true.
Something fun.
No offense, Tom.
No, I'm sure he's fine. I actually can't even picture him because I'm not a football person, but I biceps are probably there. I don't know.
Probably. I actually don't. All I know about him is that he doesn't eat tomatoes.
Huh. Okay.
Because they're a nightshade and they can cause inflammation, which makes him run slower or
Got
something.
it.
I don't know.
That's a different world, Courtney, than our librarian lives. Let's just stay where we are.
Do you think you'll be picking up more books like this?
Sure.
And what are some that readers would enjoy?
I'm thinking, so for read-alikes, I'm thinking of things with great voice and have sports, but also some tense themes. So if I were to pick books based on that criteria, I'd say Dirt Bikes, Drones, and Other Ways to Fly by Conrad Wesselhoff would be good. Stupid Fast by Jeff Herbach or Dairy Queen by Catherine Gilbert Murdoch might also be a good pick. Awesome. If you want like a really heavier themes, probably Chris Crutcher book, maybe Inexcusable by Chris Lynch as well. We've got sports, but also heavy themes.
Cool. So what's up next?
All right, we're going to get ready for Halloween with some festive reads. So thanks to NetGalley, I'll be reading Dorothy in the Land of Monsters by Garton Gebedon. It's like a morbid Wizard of Oz.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. I'll be reading The Haunted by I thought it was Danielle, but I wrote Daniel Vega.
Well,
it might be Danielle.
We'll find out.
All right, I'm always saying. I also said the author's name wrong last week.
I know.
Which is, I believe it was Lippincott.
Yes, Rachel Lippincott. Sorry.
So
I also wrote that wrong, and I apologize to Rachel.
Sorry, Rachel, in case you're listening.
All right. Remember, you get if you get a chance to answer our two questions, tell us about what happened in your sports lives as teens. Tell us about your horrifying locker room tales if you have one. Also, if you have any questions about library life or reading recommendations, shoot us an email at teentitletalk@gmail.com, and we will read a few of our listener responses or answer your questions next time.
Thanks for joining us for Teen Title Talk. This podcast is brought to you by the Derry Public Library and Derry-CAM, Derry Community Access Media, empowering independent voices. Don't forget to hit follow, rate, and review. Our theme was created and performed by Banded Starling. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Teen Title Talk. For the past year, what we do here has been made possible in part by Derry-CAM and the use of its facilities. Today is Community Media Day, and I ask you to share your love of community programming.
Yay.
Post, tweet, chat, spread the word about community media and Derry-CAM, Derry Community Access Media, empowering independent voices.